Hi everyone, it is my absolute joy and pleasure to introduce two wonderful, wonderful, beautiful souls to you, very, very good friends of mine, Janet Treloar and Hazel Newton, who I've known for some years. I actually found these two magnificent ladies through Zach's channeling, attending a channeling extravaganza that Janet and Zach were running. And they've enriched my lives so much. And in fact, Zach's wisdom in his channeling has enriched my life more than I can possibly say. It's so interesting that from the 26th dimension, he so often is reinforcing what I'm seeing astrologically. So that's wonderful. And Janet and Hazel run a Patreon group, and it has very rich offerings of a deep dive with Zach every month, a wonderful meditation that can take you to some unbelievable places and really enhance your soul's path of growth, your soul's path of evolution in this lifetime. So they run it beautifully. They do the Q&A every month as well, so you can literally send in your questions and Zach from his very high place in the universe will answer you. So Hazel and Janet both have a background in past life regression and training past life regressionists as well. They're no longer doing that. They're very much focused on running the Patreon group and helping everybody move through this massive transition that we are in right now. And Hazel, is there anything else you'd like to add before we move into the channeling? I think also to say that the more detailed introduction to you both was in a previous video, because I've been spending time with Hazel and Janet in the past, as some of you are aware, and we'll put the link to that video with the lengthy introduction to their backgrounds below this video. So if you want to check that out, it'll be right there for you. Handing over to you, Hazel.
Thank you so much again, Pam, for hosting us and bringing Zach to your audience. We know how much they've appreciated him in the past. And I know for me, as I've been listening to him over the past few months, I've been hoping that his messages could reach your audience, because they just feel so important at the moment. And I know that your questions are going to reflect some of those things that have been coming up in the astrology. I think it might be worth just mentioning that Zach, who we affectionately call Zach, he had a past life as Zachariah in Syria, but he's actually an aspect of the Ascended Master Dwar-Kul. And so he comes through as Zach in order to have a very personable and loving persona, which is very much related to his level of humanity, that he loved being human when he was here on earth. And Dwar-Kul is well, wow, what a huge energy. But I think it's more enjoyable for us all to have the sort of the friendliness and the loving persona of Zach. So I'd say that I think I'll be pretty quiet in this interview. Normally I'm the one that asks the questions, but we know how curious you are as well, Pam, and how much you and Zach have such an affinity together. So we're looking forward to hearing all that you've got to ask him this time.
Absolutely. So we can't wait to get going, Janet. So anything else you'd like to share with us? I think you go off to your meadow to get out of the way while you bring Zach in. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
So there are many different forms of channeling, especially in the age we're living in now, where the vibration is so high that a blending with higher vibrations, excuse me, is so much more possible than it ever was before. I'm still quite old-fashioned, as Zach calls me, because the most comfortable way for me is to be completely out of my body. So I'm an out-of-body channeler, and I go off to my beautiful energetic meadow where it's always springtime, which is a bit strange because it's autumn at the moment. And from there, I can allow him to have just complete use of my body, which is why, as Hazel says, the accent is different, the mannerisms are different, the speech patterns are different, although he has to use vocabulary that he finds. And so I'm afraid you get some Cockney slang in there as well, and some words like stuff. But overall, he is a lot more eloquent than I am. So I will leave you with him. I'll allow you to obviously to carry on talking, because it only takes me a couple of moments or a couple of minutes, probably better than a couple of moments for him to come through. and share his wonderful energy. The energy transmission on top of the wisdom of what he says is all important. So I hope everyone can get to feel that as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So
Thanks,
we'll
Janet.
just let Janet pop off to her meadow, and we'll allow the huge energy of Zach, aspect of Dwal Kul, to come in. And this always feels quite magical, actually.
Yeah.
Welcome, 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 welcome.
A joy to be with you again, Zach. It's always such a pleasure. I so love these times when we can share. So thank you for being here with us. Thank you for being a cosmic guide in these massive times of transformation that we're going through, and lots of questions really that we'd love your wisdom on from your high perspective of the 26th dimension. So are you happy to begin, or is there anything you'd like to share with us straight away?
Let us simply dive straight in. There's so much to share at the moment, is there not, my dear? Is there not?
Absolutely. So the first question is really, I think everybody can feel it in the energy, and it's very, very clear in the astrology that we are entering an accelerated period of collapse of the old order, a breakdown to break through. And I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that and how, from your perspective, we can best navigate these next few months that are so important for us.
Well, first of all, when we anticipate an outcome, a situation, an event, for a long, long time, we really build it up, do we not? We build it up into our minds until it is so vast, so huge, that we either cannot imagine it or we get to the point of fearing it. Now, of course, my dear, as you know, we are not about fear here, are we?
Absolutely.
We are going into the foray of the future with certain certainty that things are better than before. Now, before you think, oh, Zachariah, easy for you to say, you have no physical body anymore, which is true. But we see into people's hearts and minds, and what globally has been building for such a long time and is really reaching a crescendo point now is people's desire for change is so huge that it outweighs the fear that may be fundamentally underneath. They are really, really ready, a bit like remodeling a house. You may have your favorite chair, sentimental bits and pieces. And for so long, that has brought you so much comfort, you could not bear to get rid of them. But eventually you say, you know, what is coming is so much better, so much fresher, will give me space to live in the way that I want to live now, rather than harking back to something that doesn't work anymore. Let's clear the decks. And then when the remodeling happens, well, you wonder why you didn't do it a few years ago. So what we are experiencing is people's desire to be so strong that the energy of that which can be created can happen so much quicker. Almost a bit like, you know, like how a typhoon creates momentum with its energy, building strength. And this is what we are feeling now. There is such a strength being built that it gets to the point where you say, you know what? Whatever has to go, because I am ready to put in the new structures, the new strategies, the new way of being, and open to what is being offered to me by the world as well, that I can truly thrive. Good, eh?
Beautiful. And my strong sense is, Zach, that whenever we have these discussions and the people listening to this video are watching it too, or when we come together as a group in person, wanting to create a better world, we are literally creating an energetic hologram of love that is going forward to create that new world. Now, I feel that so strongly, and every time, I'm getting goosebumpy now, and every time we do that, it almost feels like we're putting bricks and mortar on the foundation of the house that we're creating for the better world.
Absolutely. And not so long ago, you could turn a torch on and shine it into the dark, and you could only illuminate a little way into the darkness. The energy now is so strong, it is more like a laser beam. And if you have ever watched laser beams, like in a light show, pointed up to the sky, they have to be careful that the planes do not get blinded by them. They go so far. So think of this as an analogy of how much more strength your thoughts coming together have, your hearts coming together have. Even if you do not know what other hearts, even if you are sitting alone and you do not know who else is involved in this, send out a thought into that field, into that grid, however you want to think of it, of this positive momentum for creation of the new, and you will be a part of it. Understand? Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. Because it's our focus and attention on that rather than on the fear that is creating. So, and astrologically, Zach, just in a few months, I'm looking at sort of March, April, May, June. They look very different energy to where we are now. There's been more of a clearing of the decks, let's say. Are you seeing that from your high perspective?
Yes, and once the dust settles, there is more camaraderie. When you think of a tribe of people getting together, or think of it as a community of people getting together, in the beginning, it can become a little bit difficult. No one knows exactly the place, what is to be done, what needs to be done. But when people get into the flow of it, when they get into the rhythm of life that comes with it, the rhythm of heart, and the joy of creating something new, then you can see a bit like springtime in itself. Everything starts to bloom. So there's energy coming into, I'm not saying it's all going to be easy, but especially something that we are seeing coming very much into the lifelines at that time is the potential for levels of camaraderie that we have not seen for many, many decades, or maybe ever. Understand, yes?
Yes, and that's wonderful, because that is very much the Aquarian energy, actually, of community collaboration. I know you've spoken about collaboration a lot before, and from your perspective as well, Zach, because I'm feeling this very strongly, that this is really the biggest evolutionary jump that humanity has ever made.
Or we have talked before about going past the tipping point.
Yes.
It's like on a seesaw, there is only one way. And this is very, very true. However, the tipping point becomes first before the big evolutionary leap actually happens. And this is what you are sensing and experiencing, and you are seeing in the universal patterns.
Yeah.
And this will support all life on Earth making this leap, or as I call it, evolutionary. As you know, it is evolution in terms of frequency and vibration, combined with a need to change, not just because of the pressure, which our theory of evolution looks at pressure to change, to do with the environmental changes, which is very true, but also evolutionary because it comes with desire to be different from before. It is not to say what went before was bad. We cannot see things in such light because that is rejection. It is simply the capacity now within people, within the earth, within the frequency, within the vibration, within the emotional intelligence that allows there to be a progressive pathway forward, just like a door opening up, ways clear, timelines coming in, potentials coming in that just simply could not have happened at other times. And this is why all the planetary system, including the far further reaching planets in particular, I should say, are having such a direct and important influence to help people make that leap. It is a little bit like putting the trampoline in front of them, you understand, so that they can make the leap that is required to be able to really be successful Understand? Yes.
Yes, absolutely, Zach. And I was going to come to that a little bit later in our chat here today, but it seems that nature could almost be jumping an octave, or possibly even more than an octave, because the energy is so different going forwards.
Many of you have heard me say many, many times that the universe does not only provide a solution for any problem or issue, whether humans create it, Earth creates it, climate creates it. It is always preempting what is needing and creating a solution. But even more so, it is anticipating potentials of issues which may need it. And because nature is not so resistant to change as human nature is, if you look to nature, you will see how it is inspiring these changes, coming up with solutions. Example, micro beings. I'll call them as micro beings, which can ingest pollutions and so forth. Not just because some scientist in a laboratory said, I wonder if you could do this. It's because they are seeing it actually happening in nature. So this evolutionary or evolutionary leap that we are seeing is happening. If you just look outside, if you just look at your oceans, yes, there is peril there still, because that is the generalized. But when you actually see deep, deep down into the cellular experience, there is so much fast change coming on. And if humans want to do anything at all that will help them, it is simply setting a desire to emulate nature, to follow nature rather than human nature, you could say. Understand? Yes, my dear.
Yes, absolutely. And I just heard about a naturally occurring fungus the other day that eats plastic. It thrives on plastic. I mean, just think of that potential to clear up a lot of the pollution. But
the fungus are a super intelligence of your earth. Do continue.
Yes, sorry, Zach. Recently you've been speaking about toxicity, and it's something I wanted to touch on because it's very clear in the astrology. We have the South Node right now in Scorpio, which is being very highlighted with the eclipses in October and November. And the South Node is where we release from the past. And Scorpio can be very linked to toxicity of many kinds, toxicity with chemicals. It's very likely to be toxicity in the financial system because Scorpio is linked to that, investments, big money, etc. It can be toxicity of our thoughts, as you've talked about in the past. But could you talk a little more about that and how people can deal with it? And also a supplementary question, is there anything with the high frequency light that is coming in right now that will help to cleanse and purify and accelerate that detoxification process?
Number one thing to remember, toxicity is a collective issue. It is collective in its experience as well as individual, but it is also collective in its purification and energy of renewal. Therefore, collectively speaking, if you put people in a line, like 9 out of 10 people are going to be experiencing at this time some level of urge of detoxicity, of a detox of such, or awareness of such things which are burdening them. As you said, this can be on every level of life, physical, even spiritual, emotional, mental, comes from this life, other lives, ancestral. And before you think, oh my goodness, Sakalaya, get to the good bit. Because that all sounds rather extreme, and it is extreme. There is such a pressure. The light actually brings pressure with it. It pressurizes these denser frequencies, which is how it is held in the body. It is not to say you are dense or you are dark or you are bad. These are all paradigm ideas. It is simply density that the light is bringing to your attention. And yes, sometimes the detoxification process can be a little bit all-encompassing, understandably. However, there is much help being given to the planet at this time. And even in your own natural environments, there is so much help the nature, plants and others are giving to help remove some of this toxicity. But as you alluded to, because I have been speaking on this as well, even if you are thinking, oh, well, I will just shelve this, it's too much. The focus of the plasma corridor that we are in at this particular time, where the earth is placed at this moment, the level of photonic light that is coming from what is often referred to as the center of the universe, or the center of this galaxy at least, is then coming to a point where the frequency vibration is not just light, as you imagine light like sunlight. It has a capacity to not only shine into the darkness, into the density, but to transmute it, which is a very powerful thing. For comfort, it is easier to get involved ourselves as well while we experience this. The more we resist, the more discomfort it feels, as the light has to do the job all on its own. However, if in this incarnation, people can say, okay, I've just got to get with it. I've just got to help these things that are only holding me back to go. And especially with the heart desire, just simply to allow that to happen. There is universal, you could say it's a cosmic help, higher vibrational help that is coming in, and it is not being censored. That person is a good person and gets it. That person's a bad person, doesn't get it. That person is aware and gets it. That person doesn't. No, 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 no. You are sentient beings on earth. You are consciousnesses. Every single living thing upon this planet, very, very simple, is engaged with the light and will have a transcendence into a stage of huge renewal. Understand this?
Yes, that's wonderful. So is this process really, Zach, the fact that the Earth is moving through the photon belt and we're receiving this very high frequency photonic light, and I know you've spoken in the past about how that's upgrading every cell in our body. Is this part of our process of stepping into becoming the light body, losing
Absolutely.
density?
Yes. The toxicity is, you could say it is like the last part, because it is such a pressure to the body to really highlight the toxicity. Therefore, if indeed you are going through any form of detoxification in your life, whether that is a physical, emotional, blah, 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 detoxification, you know, you've got to the point where you can handle it. This is not time giving out gold stars, saying, woohoo, you did it. Just simply to say, no, if you are experiencing it, you are meant to be experiencing it. You have a lighter vibration that cannot carry that density anymore. What I would advise or suggest for people to do is to match that lightness of energy with your powerful day-to-day thoughts. Just as you do, dear Pamela, you know, with your thought process and when you're speaking to people of positive intention. When we can match that, we can help not only ourselves, but everything collectively. So exactly as you say, the light has done its jobs. It's like phases of jobs, updating genetics, updating the bodies, moving, even through still a carbon-based form, into a carbon-based form that is able to have the capacity to be able to be more light fueled and therefore lighter in vibration as well. So this toxicity and into renewal, and you can of course always use another word for renewal as rebirth, because it is now at the point of coming into a completely different state of being, which will be aligned with the Earth's different state of being. So no, I won't have to look around and everyone look suddenly very strange. No, everyone have 3 heads and big ears and long arms. It will be that people can be the same. It is their vibration that changes. understand this?
Yes, absolutely. And that's so helpful, Zach, because I think we just forget that thoughts can be toxic. We think of food as toxic, chemicals, pesticides, things in the environment. We forget that our thinking can be so toxic, and very powerfully toxic too, because our minds are so powerful. And so that's a really good reminder. And that's why I often say to people, stick post-it notes all over your kitchen. You know, what are you thinking about right now? What's your frequency, to get people back on track? And so that's so wonderful to hear, because it sounds like, and dare I say, Zach, that the golden age has always been posited as starting in 2032, but it almost feels like humanity is making very good progress. And although linear time can't really exist in 5D because it's an expanded consciousness where time does not exist, so it's a slight contradiction there, I almost feel that we could be slightly energetically ahead of the game in stepping into an expanded consciousness and a much more beautiful world.
This is the beauty of humans. They do what is unexpected. For quite a long time, you know, we were giving a push to everyone, going, come on, slightly at the back of the pack, you know, like someone in a marathon who has really lost their pace setters and is a bit further back. But the cheering on, the help, the energy, the burst, pushing through the wall gets them suddenly to sprint like they've never sprinted before, to have energy, to excel and move forward. And this is what we're seeing. So for a long time, humanity was lagging behind, shall we say, from what would be ideal for the periods and the planetary functions. However, we're now at the time where there is much that is ahead of the game. Now, you're not necessarily seeing that manifested in generalized quarters around the world, but certainly in pockets, certainly in certain areas, certainly in certain industries. And this is where the emotional intelligence, which I've spoken of before, and people can think that's not very important simply because people have so much more emotional intelligence now, is really the leader in the pack. This is the thing that pushed past the barrier. It is people's emotions and their sheer determination to make the best of life that is really getting us there. So I say, let's throw out the old tomes of books that say 2032. Why not manifest it sooner, eh? Don't you think?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm right on for that, Zach. Absolutely. Because we are powerful co-creators. We are making it happen. The future is invisible until we step into it and take that power back and say, okay, we are now creating a much more loving, abundant and beautiful world. So, and something you spoke of in the last deep dive, which thrilled me, was talking about we are now at a frequency match for the Lemurian energy, because that was such a beautiful society. And actually somebody else that I sometimes listen to talked about just hordes of Lemurian armies coming in to help us at this time. So could you talk a little bit more about that and what that means for humanity with that frequency match? Because that sounds absolutely beautiful in terms of where we're headed.
The Lemurian light waves are quite unique upon your planet because they are so very, very high vibrational, whilst at the same time having an element of understanding what it is to deeply live on this earth. The Lemurians as a whole, you could think it like an outpost here on this earth, and really understood its nature. It understood its nature before it understood humanity. However, the Lemurian light waves are, yes, consistent with the requirement of evolutionary jumping. Okay, so the waves do not just soothe. They do not just open us up, our third eye, our heart, our connections. They do not just have the capacity to fill us with joy and learn how to experience joy ourselves. They can literally pick you up, you know, one side of the river and put you on the other. And what I mean by that is they are here. And again, because of the cosmic structuring at this time, there are gateways open to literally everyone, not just the depths, to everyone to experience this powerful punch of energy that can push through those things that are holding back, that is preventing that leap, but in the most gentle way. They do not goad, they do not push, they do not say, come on, you can do it, which I might say. They simply give such a bridge of light and such an energy within that the person is inspired to elevate themselves, to be in a place of love and harmony, to be in a place of community, blah, blah, blah. Because all of these things, the Lemurians were one of the first on your planet to do. Understand, yes?
Yes, absolutely. And so we are going to incorporate, it sounds like, Zach, more and more of that energy for the long term in our evolution.
Think of it a little bit like electricity. Now, of course, you don't want to plug your kettle into it. I do not mean it in this way, simply that it is a power.
Yeah.
It is a power. So if people are listening and thinking, I don't think I really want to start doing stuff where I have to go and try and find a Lemurian to help me. Just simply know that these waves, and if you want to call of it the vibrational frequency, if you say Lemurian light waves into your heart, this will align you even just to the frequency to allow it to come, like being plugged into it to help you. And it really helps you get out of those fixes, gets you out of those holes. It is a wonderful accompaniment to everything that people are going through after moving through the toxicity into the renewal. It is a beautiful, like we're using the analogy of the marathon. It's like someone running up to you at the end, giving you a big drink and a blanket and a big hug in the middle, It is that energy. Understand, yes?
Yes, and beautiful. And thank you for explaining that, Zach, how we can easily connect to that Lemurian energy. That's absolutely beautiful. And as you're talking about it, the quality of the energy very much reminds me a lot of the Kuiper Belt objects, the deep space objects, which we've spoken about in the past, but because so many of their archetypes are linked to this very high frequency, this quantum frequency of creation and expanded consciousness, but so many of them also have this deep shamanic instinctive connection with the earth and nature and harmony and her rhythms. And so the Lemurian energy, in a sense, seems to be echoing the Kuiper Belt object energy. And so can you speak a little bit about that and maybe how we can more easily focus on the Kuiper Belt objects to help us in this?
Certainly, because many other star beings have their feet firmly on their planet or their stars. And what I mean by this is it is very cosmic, very light, very high, very wonderful. However, for the evolution to take place all around, being part of the planet, it can be so much quicker and more powerful when it has an element of the earth. And as we said, Lemuria and the Lemurians themselves were great botanists. They really understood this planet. They were part of the nature of this planet. So they get, as you say, just as you get with the Kuiper Belt, all sorts of objects and debris there. Throughout them, they have the equilibrium between the physical and the light, between the density that is necessary to exist in a physical world and the harmony with the energy of nature and the earth, was constantly looking to the heavens for the acceleration. And this is where the Kuiper Belt beings, let us even call them, are not subject to the laws in the same way as other planetary systems that are closer to you in your galaxy. Therefore, they can be mavericks, they can be rebels, they can start a rebellion. They can really bring in the new that the mind can sometimes find struggling to get around. However, the energy is felt strongly as a point of change, big point of change. And we are seeing many cycles, ending and beginning, ending and beginning, and they can really help propel into a future to help get away from a last cycle and into the new one that you yourselves are creating. Does this make sense, my dear?
Absolutely. And they really do feel like a new level of consciousness and a very expanded consciousness, sort of taking us beyond personality, as it were. And I wanted to ask you specifically, Zach, about the Capricorn solstice, our winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, because at that point, Jupiter is at 0 degrees of Aries. 0 degrees of Aries is like it's the very first degree of the zodiac. So I think of it almost as the creator degree. Now, Jupiter has a 12-year orbit, so it comes to that point every 12 years, but not exactly at the solstice. But even more importantly, there's a dwarf planet called Manwe. And Manwe, with his wife Vada, created the cosmos. He's the highest archangel, closest to the mind of God, the highest level of divine intelligence. He is dedicated to the triumph of light over dark. He's dedicated to world renewal. You know, he created the cosmos and the universe the first time around, so he knows how to do it the second. And he also, with a 289-year orbit, is exactly at the Aries point, this first degree of the zodiac. He's there at the solstice and becomes absolutely exact to the minute in January. So because solstices and equinoxes tend to strike a tuning fork for the next 3 months as a kind of astrological backdrop of what's coming up, that feels to me like a huge symbol for new earth, a huge symbol of new creation, of expanded consciousness. So I hope I've explained that, but I'm sure you understand. So could you speak a little about that too, that specific period?
So often the shifts and change in cycles could go almost unnoticed, you know, no big prominent, let us use the word prominent date that everybody is aware of. However, particularly in Western society, the end of the period of December, not only with the winter solstice, but moving into the whole energy of a new year, you get everybody starting to feel a need for completion, celebration, and then anew. Even people that make New Year's resolutions and so forth, a real deep shift and change of what they want to do different. Now, what you're seeing here is something that is not only global, it is universal. This in your cuboid of the universe is a point of such dramatic change that life is very different after. Now, before everyone thinks, oh my goodness, what cave can I find to hide in? I do not mean that type of event. What I mean is everything has been building. Everything we have been speaking of has been going on for so long and in preparation, and different things will happen because not everything happens all at once. But from 1 year to the next, such a vast difference. Sometimes people expect things to be so different and they're not. But this year, we totally expect things to be different. And this run-up that is coming, everything astrologically, internally, the wisdom, yes, the internal wisdom that people are having at this time, it is really clean up my act, get things in line, and really start to create what I want going into the future. People have an innate knowing and awareness that time is ticking for them to just sit back and say, I'm too busy to do that at the moment. I'm too involved with this project or that project to change. This is such a force of change. And as I always say, allow change to change you. And I mean it in a positive way. Allow this feeling, these winds of change coming in, this desire to really get down nitty gritty. What do I need to do? What do I need to prepare for? And when I say prepare for, that simply means to have energetic certainty, roots in the ground, stabilize yourself so that just as any climate that has shifts and changes, you can stay in a place of inner harmony. Because when you are clear-hearted, clear-headed, you can get involved with any situation that is happening at a very high, bright, light, positive level. If you are still floundering around, getting your bits and pieces together, thinking, oh, I'm not quite ready for this, then it is so much harder to think clearly and have your heart clear. So just simply look inside in yourself. What do you feel in your own immediate life that may be changing, that might be internal, external, and just make some preparation so that whatever happens, roots are in the ground, head is in the sky, ready, ready, ready. Understand? Yes?
Yes, absolutely. And I'd like to just pick up on something you were speaking about there, Zach, because my understanding is that for a long period of time, the Earth was, let's say, offline, but now it's coming back as a very, very pivotal, important part of the galaxy, almost a portal in the galaxy. Could you say a little bit about that and the importance of Earth perhaps changing its status within the galaxy?
It's a little bit like a child who plays up a little bit at school and has to redo a few grades, So the Earth wasn't quite for a while, as you say, in alignment. I say it just wasn't ready to be in a particular synergy with everything else. And so the Earth itself had to pick up. And the way it does this is with the help of that which lives upon it. It is just a bit like, you have lots of living things in your body. You are not just you, and they help you to move through life. And this is the same. You are helping the earth, animals and so forth are helping the earth. And as we say, sometimes we see these big leaps. And so therefore, if you can think of it, earth back aligned, then it is like someone in an orchestra, who has a violin and its strings broken. They have to go off while the symphony carries on. But then when they come in and they come back and the string is fixed and they add their music to it, suddenly it sounds exactly as it should. And this is what the earth is doing. Earth now needs to play its part in the symphony of this keyboard of the universe, and of course the bigger picture of the universe itself. Understand? Yes?
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Zach. And does that therefore suggest that we are going to have much more galactic contact going forwards, because we are ultimately galactic citizens ourselves?
It all depends on the openness of people's hearts. If the galactic interaction and communication were something that Earthlings decided they did not really want, it would be held back maybe for a generation or two, because this is intended for supportive of growth, not to hinder it. So if people are still, it's a bit like when you're building a foundation of something and loads of people are coming in trying to help, and you say, actually, I want to just get this bit down myself, then I know where I'm going. That may happen. There's a strong potential line for that. So I do not want to use the word rejection, because it is not that. It says simply when Earthlings, human beings, to be ready. However, it's a bit like a telephone network that is all set up, ready to go. Because of the alignments, because of the astrology and every other such thing, but particularly because of the plasma corridor, and the photonic light that is carrying much vibrational knowledge and information across to all the other galactic beings. And remember, galactic beings do not have to be in a physicality that is exactly the same frequency of yours. Otherwise, all sorts of space agencies would have found them left, right, and center. Most of them sit in slightly different frequencies, or you could think of it as dimensions, but that does not intimidate or indeed lessen the ability to then still be in communication and indeed in harmony. Most people are doing it in their dream time, in their trance work, in their daydreams, and all sorts of other things, because again, these are times when they don't have to rely on their physicality. But there is certainly the potential in the years to come that in a physical way, there could be much galactic connection en masse too. Understand? Yes?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sensing that looking down the timeline astrologically. I'm sensing that very strongly. And with this wonderful Lemurian energy and also the very high frequency photonic light, are we going to be remembering, Zach, some almost magical ancient skills that we had, that we used to have as souls, that will now start to come back to us?
It is going to be individual choice. Okay, just as you know, the vibration that we can simply quantify as healing energy, when transferred into a physical living being, animal, human, whatever, it has a consciousness and knows exactly where to go. It knows what to alight, and it knows when the energy, for whatever reason, rejects it. Well, the Lemurian light waves and many other light vehicles that are coming through is doing the same thing. It has a level of consciousness that can go in and bring forth these memories. But it is the same as the healing. People have to be open to it. Or even desire it. That is a better way. Let us change the wording, not open. They need to desire it. Otherwise, just on a subconscious level, it could be rejected as being seen as, oh, not right now, don't really need this. So again, if you want to reinstate ways of being that is encoded deeply within your sacred geometry energy system, then just simply ask. Ask that this is shown to you. Ask and say that you are ready to see these things, because everything is not new that is coming in. It is a reawakening applied with the energy body that you have now, which then elevates it to a new level. Understand, yes?
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's so exciting, Zach. It's absolutely beautiful. And even though I'm very well aware astrologically, and you've talked about it too, that we're moving into an age of much greater community and collaboration. This is very much the Aquarian energy. There's also a sense that we are on more individual timelines than we've ever been before, which is slightly contradictory. Can you talk a little bit about that too?
Mm. You've hit the nail on the head. For collaboration, inclusivity, all of these things to actually happen, people have to first individually come to the choice of it. This is where it feels quite contradictory. Collaboration only really works when each single person is in their power. It is not collaboration when you get a group of people who are forced to do something together. You understand?
Yeah.
Now, because of this, and this is why we look so much into the internal power now, and the why so much for such a long time has really been built on people clearing the energy of the past within them, the difficulties within them, the things that have made them shy of being themselves, and all of these things, so that they are able to shine a light in a very comfortable and non-dominatory way of saying, this is what I want, and what I want is to collaborate with a lot of other people. Now, people are popping. Hazel uses terminology like popcorn in a hot pan, and it is true. As everything heats up, more and more people come aware of their own power and are comfortable with it. Not to a degree that because of their wounds of the past, they need to force that onto another. And in so doing, and the more that they work on such human traits which can prove difficult, such as judgment and other righteous anger, and all of these things that I've so often spoken of, when they can come into this place, then they are open to have such deep love-based collaborations. So the moment it is contradictory, you are quite right, because not everybody is there yet. However, again, as we get more and more people who are individually comfortably in their own power, not wanting to overpower, but empower others, then you're going to see, and we are already seeing, and you're in many communities, I know, my dear, who are feeling this collaboratively love-based situations. Understand, yes?
Yes, absolutely. It's so beautiful. And what seems vital is that we come from the heart. We live in the heart, and we do as much as we can from that state of love, but also of bliss. Really in harmony with the bliss light codes that are coming in right now too.
Absolutely. Head and force in combination with the power will only wreck it.
Yeah.
Heart and light in combination with power will grow the collaboration. And as you say, the planets are in their own synergy to help everyone get to those points as well at this particular moment in time and going forward for some time yet. Understand? Yes?
Yes, and it feels as if this period in time, Zach, is really, we're just entering the birth canal now, that will produce a new birth at the other end. That's how it feels, and that feels very exciting.
It is a squeezing time, but remember, you'll be coming up for air soon. Okay.
Okay, well, that's wonderful to hear. And is there anything else you'd like to share with us before I pass back to Hazel, because she might have some questions too?
There's a lot of doom and gloom, as Janet would say. She uses this expression a lot, doom and gloom. There's a lot of doom and gloom. But ultimately, this is just the shadows that we are moving through into the realm of light. Yeah. And what I really mean by that is light for everyone. Light that does not have to be taken from another to go on a big journey to get. Light that is permanently within you, giving you the answers, giving you the abilities, the skills, giving you these things. And it is not because it is bestowing it. When I say giving, it is because it is your innate new light wisdom that will be coming through. Everything, when I look to the future on so many different potential timelines for humanity, becomes easier. Everything becomes easier. You have all been locked into such a situation of, swimming against the current. But soon you'll be on the other side. And this is what we're seeing. But you need to keep feeding those potential lines with your choices, with your heart, with your desire to live upon this beautiful planet in a way that is leaving it better than when you got to it, That can be so helpful, not just for yourself, but for everybody. Understand, yes?
Yes, beautiful. And with all my intentions before I come on any call, any interview, any video, any client session, I will always say for the highest good of all, for the betterment of all, because I think that really feeds out to the collective as well. So I think it's so important for us all to remember that in setting our intentions as we move through our days. Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, there's been some wonderful, wonderful, rich wisdom here, Zach. As always, we feel so blessed. And I'd like to just hand back to Hazel for a moment to see if there's anything else Hazel would like to ask or add.
Wow, I think you've covered so much ground, Pam. Your questioning is, as always, spot on. And I'm sure everyone will be delighted that you've asked the questions that you have. And Zach's been able to give such rich and empowering answers. Zach, I wondered whether or not there was a final question related to the changes that are happening within our DNA, as that's a question that we get a lot. And I know that for our audience, you've covered it, but I wondered whether there was anything you could add just to help inspire Pam's audience, just to all of the incredible changes that are taking place.
I will keep it short. Because as you say, we've covered it a lot. The main thing to remember is there is an added wisdom within your DNA. It is not only ancestral, it is very much linked to not only who you are now, but who you are in every moment. Therefore, it lends to the theory that it must be in a permanent state of flux, a permanent state of change. If we are not looking at our own DNA the whole time, because how could we? you know, we have lives to live here on this planet, then what you are getting is influences. And there is much influence of light gods and Ada that are coming in again, available to everybody to naturally evaluate within the DNA system. The DNA, of course, is communicating throughout all the trillions of cells and into the tiniest areas and across the board of the whole energy body system, but it also is directly linked to the soul and to the whole lineage. Therefore, if it is getting this added help, it enables the person as well to be able to adapt into what their heart is desiring for the future, what their energy is connecting with within the environment, emotional as well as physical and other environment. And so really, something that is so important is to ensure that you do not think of your DNA as something that is set in stone. Think of it just like how you can change your thoughts in a moment. Things can shift and change. Wit will be representing your needs of life. Understand? Yes.
Wow. Yes, I think this is such an important message to get across, that people don't have to think about trajectories in the same way as we would have done in the past, that sort of our future is so dependent on our past or things, but actually that, well, in fact, Zach, you talk a lot about us being magical beings of creation, and almost to desire what we may not have previously thought possible is now becoming possible.
Of course. So it is not just lay back and let it all happen. Be the creator of your destiny. What you are really desiring in your heart, you have universal help to make manifest. And that is what is so important. Yes, these things from the past, the toxicity is coming up for many different reasons, but do not be defined by this. See it as something that you are letting go of. If you want to define yourself at all, define yourself as an ever-changing, ever-latory, a sentient being that is here to enjoy life and to make things better for self, for others, for collectively. Live love and kindness and grace and love. And how then could anything go wrong? Understand this?
Oh boy, we love you, Zach. We love you. We can feel our frequency lift with every sharing that you give us. I mean, that was just magnificent, wasn't it? As a crescendo at the end.
Absolutely.
Well,
So,
we have beamed out and transmitted a lot of this light energy whilst we're talking, because I know a lot of people may not listen to the jibber jabber. So they can soak up the energy instead. Good, eh? Good, eh? Good, eh?
yeah, working on many levels here, and bless you, Zach. It's just bless you all. Bless you, Hazel. Bless you, Janet, and bless you, Zach, for your wonderful gifts that just deepen with every shared session we have. You really are so special for us. So we all love you, and perhaps it's time for Janet maybe to come back from her meadow now.
Yes.
As much as it loathes me to leave you. I have such fun in this body with you all. I leave you in the light with all good things ahead. Goodbye, my dears. Goodbye, goodbye. I go get her now. I call her. Goodbye.
Thank you, Zach.
Bye-bye.
Thank you a millionfold.
Welcome back, Jan.
That was wonderful. Really, really wonderful. Thank you so much. I think that will help many, many people out there, you know, who are struggling a little bit and write to us. And I think that was just absolutely light and love filled, that whole channeling, that whole transmission. So thank you so much, Zach, Janet, Hazel. Absolutely beautiful.
Oh, and thank you, Pam. Wow, what incredible questions. Such a rich conversation between you and Zach. And obviously there are two others that people can find in your videos, as well as obviously the ones that we put out through our Patreon channel, the free every month, and also our membership meditations and deep dive conversations. So there's a lot that Zach has to say and share that really inspires us to live in an ever latery way.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for all that you give us and really keep us on track as a cosmic guide. So I'll put those links below for the previous videos. I'm sure the three of us, when shall we three meet again?
Yeah.
We'll be getting together in a few months' time to take it another step forward in where we are in our great leap forward as humanity. So thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much. And just to say, Zach's energy was huge. It always is huge, but he was just pumping. So I was quite pleased that he mentioned that at the end, because I could feel the energy, and obviously he's bringing this collective energy through as well. So I hope everyone also really enjoyed receiving that, because it is there to be received. It is absolutely, it is there, given with love, given with, as he calls it, heart hugs. You know, it's there for all of us to use in any way that's going to help us through the day, and by the sound of it, to the end of the year.
Yeah. And he has a huge presence, doesn't he? We can feel the energy stepping into you. So
Absolutely massive. It has taken me years to master fully, really holding and channeling Zach's energy, because he is such a massive presence. But as we say, that is matched by his lovingness and his wisdom, thankfully, which is fabulous.
It's come at just the right time for us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I'd just like to say to everyone, keep shining brightly through these next few months, and keep remembering everything that Zach said about where we're going, what's going to be happening, and how very, very different things are going to look by the end of the year and moving into the next year. And as we hold that in our minds, in our hearts, in our desires, then we are actually co-creating that new world together.
100%. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Bye for now.
Bye.